Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel English and Beyond. I am CJ Roy and in today's class we are going to learn past perfect continuous tense. And in past perfect continuous we are going to learn about making statements both in the affirmative and negative. So without wasting any time, let's get started with today's topic, past perfect continuous tense. In the past perfect continuous sentence, how do we make affirmative statements? It's the same thing since we have already learned present perfect continuous tense. This is the same exact thing in the past perfect continuous tense. Also, the only difference is instead of the auxiliary verb have or has, we need to use its past tense, that is had. Now, had comes after every subject, whether the subject is singular or plural, whether it is first person, second person, third person, whatever may be the subject. The auxiliary verb in the past perfect tense will be had, then been, then V1 ing. Just like we learn past perfect tense. In the past perfect tense, for example, I had written a letter. Now, in the past perfect continuous tense, it will be I had been writing a letter. So there is not much difference from the present perfect continuous tense, except that the auxiliary verb have and has we change into its past form, that is had. So I had been writing a letter. Subject plus had plus been plus V1 with ing. Similarly, second person, you had been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning. So you had been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning. I will explain to you when and why we should use past perfect continuous, and then you will know the difference between present and past perfect continuous tenses. For the moment, let us learn the format, how we make a sentence in the past perfect tense. So you had been writing a letter. Then he, she, it had. There is no change. In the present perfect, it was has, third person singulars. Now this is past. So the past tense of have and has both is had here. So we continue with had. So it's easy for us. So he had been writing a letter. She had been writing a letter. It had been writing a letter. That will be the format here. It's very clear. I hope so. Next, first person plural, we. We had been writing a letter. We had been writing a letter. And the last one, third person plural, they had been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning. So what did we learn here? It is subject, then had, then been, then the main verb, whatever the verb. I had been working the whole morning that day. That day in the past, I had been working the whole morning. So we will understand, I will explain to you in the last video of present past perfect continuous tense. You will know when to use this or why we use this one. For the moment, this is enough. So we now know how to make statements, affirmative statements in the past perfect continuous tense. Now let's go to our next part, that is making negative statements in this tense here. Let's see that. Well, the negative part is, as always, we have to put that negative word, which is normally the word not, immediately after the first auxiliary verb. Here, the first auxiliary verb is had. So we need to place that not immediately after had. So I had been writing a letter will change into I had not been writing a letter. Don't say I had been not writing. That is a mistake we make. There is a tendency among learners to place the not after been. No, that is wrong. That is the one thing, one area that you need to be careful. We have to use it immediately after had here. So, I had not been writing a letter, or else had plus not hadn't. I hadn't been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning. And then similar. You had been writing will become you had not been writing. He, she, it had been writing will become he, she, it had not been writing. He had not been writing, or else he hadn't been writing, she hadn't been writing, it hadn't been writing. Clear? Then comes to the first person plural, which is we, and we had been writing was the affirmative statement. How to make it negative? Simply say we had not been writing, or else we hadn't been writing. Simple enough. Similarly, the last one, they had not been writing, or else they hadn't been writing. So the rules are the same. It applies to all the tenses, the general rule, which means you need to place the not immediately after the first auxiliary verb. And in the past perfect continuous, the first auxiliary verb is always going to be had, whatever may be or whichever may be the subject. Either it is singular or plural, first person, second person, third person, no issue. It's always going to be, the auxiliary verb is always going to be had. I think that is very clear to you. Okay. Well, that's it for today. We learned past perfect continuous tense, how to make statements here. So if you enjoyed this session and if you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel English and Beyond. And please do tap that bell icon so you will receive the next English lesson. Until we meet again in the next video, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep growing with English and Beyond. Thank you so much for watching and have a great time. Hello everyone and welcome back to English and Beyond. I am CJ Roy, and in today's class we are going to learn about continue learning about past perfect continuous tense, but then today we are specifically learning how to frame questions in the past perfect continuous tense. So without wasting any time, let's straight away dive into our topic today. Past perfect continuous, how to make affirmative questions. So the affirmative statement in the past perfect in the last video we saw was I had been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning. Now becomes as usual, had I been. I had been becomes had I been. Had I been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning? Similarly, you. You had been writing a letter. That will change into you had. Had you been writing a letter? Had you been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning? That's the question. Now coming to third person singulars. He had been writing, she had been writing, it had been writing. Now changes into he had been, he had. Had he been writing? Had she been writing? Had it been writing? Okay, that's simple. You know now how it is working out here. Yes. And the next one, first person plural. We had been writing a letter. How we will change now? We had we been writing a letter? And then they, third person plural, they had been writing a letter. Had they been writing a letter? Had they been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning? This is how we ask questions. So the structure is the same, the format is the same, the rule is the same. Auxiliary verb you must put first and then subject. Let me remind you once again, my dear students here, that if you wish to add, if you are looking for some information, then please place the question word, the what type word, like how, when, which, where, why, what, who, all these words. For example, if I say, had you been writing a letter since 6 o'clock? Why had you been writing a letter since 6 o'clock? Just add that. It will be a question, a what type question we call, which will be seeking an information. If all these questions that I am giving, where you place the first auxiliary first, then subject, they are all yes, no type question, because its answer is always going to be either yes or no. So had I been writing a letter? Had you been writing a letter? Had he, she, it been writing a letter? Had we been writing a letter? Had they been writing a letter? So this is how we make affirmative questions. Now let's see how we frame negative questions. How negative statements we will convert into negative questions. Negative questions. I had not been writing. I had not been writing becomes had I not been writing. Had I not been writing a letter since 6 o'clock that morning? Or else had plus not, we can contract that and put it hadn't. So it will be hadn't I been writing? Don't say hadn't I not been writing, which is wrong again, because not is already there with had in that hadn't word, right? So had I not been writing? Hadn't I been writing? Similarly, second person you, whenever you use the subject you, it will be you had not been writing. That was a statement. Now you had becomes had you not been writing? Hadn't you been writing? The format is the same as we learned in our previous videos about other tenses. Next, he, she, it. There is no change, same thing. Had he not been writing? Had she not been writing? Had it not been writing? Because these are negative questions. And if you are contracting that one, it becomes hadn't he been writing? Hadn't she been writing? Hadn't it been writing? You could ask both ways, either way, which you like. In conversational style, we normally use the contracted form. That sounds better, easy. And then the first person plural, we had not been writing reports. We had not been writing. Had we not been writing report? Hadn't we been writing report? Hadn't we been writing report? Okay, all right. Now, third person, that is plural. They had not been writing reports in 6 o'clock that morning. They had not been writing. So it becomes had they not been writing? Why had they not been writing? If you want to put that why, right? Or else hadn't they been writing? Simple enough. I hope it is very clear now how these things are falling into place here. Now you know so much now about how verbs keep changing in different tenses. This is what we are actually learning in this whole tense series here. One more thing that I would like to, in this particular tense and the coming tense, future perfect continuous, and some of these tenses, we may not use much of questions. We may not ask questions very often. It's rarely used here. But present perfect continuous tense is often used one. Past perfect continuous is also used. But their questions are like particularly past perfect continuous tense questions are not asked so much every time. But you will know once you understand these tenses, and then when you start practicing applying it in your life, when you read things, you will understand that these things that some tenses we do not always use. Why am I teaching you this one? So that you will know what's what exactly. Tenses, all the tenses, how they are, sentences are constructed in the affirmative and negative, both statements and questions. That's my idea, and I believe that you understand this and you are learning it well. Well, then that brings us to the end of today's lesson. And if you enjoyed this session and if you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel English and Beyond. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you will never miss the upcoming video. Until we meet again in the next video, keep learning, keep practicing, keep growing with English and Beyond. Until then, it's goodbye from me. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel English and Beyond. I am CJ Roy and in today's class we are going to learn about past perfect continuous tense, when and why we use this tense. This is important to know when and why we use this tense. So without wasting any time, let's straight away dive into our topic today. We use past perfect continuous tense to describe an action that was happening before another past action. So everything happens here in the past. All right. So an action that was happening for quite a while, for a duration, it was happening before another past action. From the example, you will understand it clearly. Let's see this one. She had been studying for 2 hours. You see, she had been studying for 2 hours before her mother called her. So her mother's calling one action and her action of studying. The studying continued in the past for some time. And why it got a break there? Because her mother called. So before her mother called, what was she doing? She was studying. So in this situation, and she was studying for a while, continuous tense. And when her mother called, that point of time, her studies stopped there, perfected, that much complete. So she had been studying for 2 hours before her mother called her. Next, they had been playing football when it suddenly started raining. Two things happening in the past now. What are the two things? One, they were playing. The other one, the rain started falling. Now the thing is, whoever they may be, the children, the students, the members of the team, they had been playing for some time. And when it got perfected, past perfect, past completed, when it suddenly started to rain, up to then. So two incidents happened in the past. One was going on, and then suddenly the other incident took place. And we can assume that the first incident, which was going on, came to a stop. Next one, he had been working at the company for 5 years before he resigned. So he resigned maybe last year. All right. And then before he resigned, he had completed 5 years of working at the company. So resignation is just one action. But working is not just one happened for one moment. No, for a long duration it took place in the past before he resigned. So in such situations we use past perfect continuous tense. Last one. We had been waiting for the bus for 30 minutes before it finally arrived. So bus arrived in the past, maybe yesterday or 1 week ago, or 1 month ago maybe. The bus arrived. But before the bus arrived, we were doing something. We had been waiting for the bus. The action of waiting went on for quite a while. And it came to a stop when the bus came. Then no need to wait again. So this is how one use. Let's see some other uses or situations where we use past perfect continuous tense. Describe an action that was happening before a specific time in the past. They're similar just like the previous one, but before a time, specific time. For example, by noon, she had been reading for 3 hours. So noon time, take around 12 o'clock during the day. Before that, 3 hours, she had been reading a book maybe. By 8 p.m., they had been discussing the project for hours. By 8 p.m., yesterday maybe, by 8 p.m., before 8 p.m., they had been discussing, and their discussion came to a stop at 8 p.m. And third one, at that time, I had been sleeping for only an hour. At that time, I had been sleeping for only an hour. When that sound came, when that knock came at my door, I had been sleeping, but not so much, for 1 hour, just 1 hour. And the last one, before the teacher entered, the students had been talking loudly. So two actions, the teachers entering, the students talking. The students had been talking. They were continuously talking. Until when? Until the teacher entered. So two actions in the past. At a specific time, the action which was going on came to a stop. This is what? This situation. And next, to express the cause of a past action or situation. To express the cause of a past action or a situation. For example, he was exhausted. He was tired, dead tired, because he had been running for an hour. So the reason he had been running, his running was going on for quite a while. Naturally, he gets tired, exhausted. So all happened in the past. So he was exhausted before he had been because he had been running for an hour. She failed the test because she had not been studying regularly. She failed the test because she had not been studying regularly. Okay, she failed. It's an action. Why? The reason, because she had not been studying, regular studies were not there. So we are expressing the cost of a past action or a past situation. The last one, the ground was wet because it had been raining all night. The result is the ground is wet. What's the reason? What's the cause of it? Because the rain. The rain, it had been raining all night. So naturally, the result is the ground is wet. So this is another situation where we express the cause of a past action or situation by using past perfect continuous tense. And finally, we also use this tense to describe an action that continued for some time in the past but is no longer happening. That's a simple enough, fair enough. Past perfect continuous. See, there is perfection, completion, there is continuity, and everything happened in the past. So an action started, continued for some time, and then ended. That's past perfect continuous tense. For example, I had been learning piano before I lost interest. In the past, there was a point I lost interest in learning piano. But then before that, I had been learning piano. And I stopped learning piano when I lost interest. Next one, he had been writing a book before he decided to change careers. Okay, so he changed his careers. Before that, he was trying his best to write a book. But now, when he changed career, it came to a stop. Remember, this is past, so everything happened. His working, the duration of his work, until the next thing happened, everything happened in the past. And third one, they had been traveling around the world before settling in Canada. So finally, they settled in Canada. But where were they before? They had been traveling. They had been traveling for a long duration. And finally, we had been attending yoga classes before the studio closed. So the studio closed. Before that, an action was going on, that is yoga. And we had been attending this yoga class. So this is another occasion. Now let's go to some exercises where we attempt to solve this one and make sure that we have understood everything clearly. Past, perfect, continuous tense. So here we are. She dashed for the bus for 30 minutes before it finally arrived. Waiting. So this is past perfect. So she had been. Wait, ing form. So she had been waiting. Next, they dash on the project for months before it got cancelled. Work. So the project got cancelled. But before that, they they had been working. They had been working. Next one, he dash well for a week before he visited the doctor. Not sleep. Not sleep. So he had, yes, he had not. After had not, he had not. Sleep, ing form. So he had not been sleeping well for a week before he visited. The children dash in the park before it started raining. The children dash in the park before it started raining. Play. The children, plural. The children, the pronoun that which can replace children, they, third person plural. The children, more than one. So the children had been playing in the park before it started to rain or before it started raining. And the last one, I dashed for hours before my friend called me for a break. I had been, next word, study plus ing. I had been studying. I had been studying for hours before my friend called me for a break. And in the meantime, we have one more there, fifth one we just missed. Let's go through that as well. By the time we reached the theater, the movie dash for an hour. The movie had been, yes, running. The movie had been running for an hour. So these are some of the exercises, and I'm sure you got almost all the 6 answers correct here. So this is how we use past perfect continuous tense. Well, that's all for today. And today we learned past perfect continuous tense, and I'm sure you have understood what was explained here in this video and start practicing this one. And if you enjoyed this one and if you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel English and Beyond. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so that you will not miss our next class. Until we meet again in the next video, it's goodbye from me. Take care. Thank you for watching.